Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you? Let me just turn my microphone up here a bit. There we go.
Oh, my God. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Yes.
Welcome to a Daily Dose of Dallas and Day.
Are you guys well?
Day has a question for you.
Where's
he from?
Yeah, where you from?
I'm from the UK, but I'm from a small island called Guernsey in the Channel Islands, which is a group of islands between England and France.
Because he keeps thinking you're from Australia.
I thought you were from Australia.
Well, I've got maybe a little bit of an Australian twang because I did spend a bit of time working in Australia many years ago, but they do say that people from where I'm from sound a little bit Australian anyway.
Yeah. That's it.
So, first of all, I've been following you for the better part of over a decade.
Yeah.
You have been tremendous in my growth as a lighter. You have been tremendous in my growth as a product photographer. A couple of years ago, we had to do this big, massive campaign of cosmetics. And we sat there and we looked at it like, how the hell?
The first night?
The first night was atrocious. So we sat there looking at this garbage work we did.
Yeah.
And so we sat there and I said, you know who can help us?
Karls. Yeah. So you went and popped in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Popped in one of the tutorials.
No, not just one. We sat up all night.
Yeah, because we were working up until 4 o'clock in the morning, I remember. And we worked throughout the night. And afterwards, we was like, hey, we got to go.
We can't do that again.
Yeah, no. And we shot it the next day, knocked it out.
And it was because of you. So
absolutely,
we're not worthy.
Glad to hear it went well in the end.
Oh, thanks to you. And secondly, another thing you've taught us is it's not about the equipment
at all.
Yeah.
And I've always discussed that because everyone talks about, well, Karl Light is amazing because he shoots with Broncolor. I said Karl Light would be amazing if you gave him a torch.
Yes.
So that's not what this is about. And lastly, before I give you the floor, I watch your interviews all the time and I watch your blogs all the time. And something you said stuck with me for a long time. And it was about photographers elevating their work. Because everybody wants to do the commercial work and they want to get representation and they want to do these high-end projects. And you say, maybe you're not as good as you think you are.
Yes.
And that has stuck with me for years because I try to teach my students, sometimes you have to get over yourself and look at your work objectively and fix the things you need to fix in order to elevate yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I got that from you. So everybody, I got it from him.
Thank you. Thank you.
Karl, who the hell are you?
Yes.
Tell us about you.
Tell us about you.
Who the hell am I? I'm 52 years old.
Yes.
I was born in Guernsey in the UK. I started off working as an artist in graphic design and design work when I was a late teenager, finished school. And then I was made redundant from my job and I accidentally took a job in a camera shop selling cameras. And that's when I first discovered photography and SLR photography. And then I was hooked on SLR photography from that moment onwards. And then I just poured all of my direction away from art and into photography. And then by the time I was 21, I was trying to scrape around finding any job in the photography industry. I worked in dark rooms, professional dark rooms, printing back then when it was all film and analog. I worked as an assistant and then I set off traveling because I wanted to be a photojournalist. And I did a few years traveling around the world with my cameras and shooting, got published. And then I realized after a few years that I wasn't really going to make a great living from photojournalism. It was a very tough sector. And I ended up working as an assistant in a big studio. And that's where I started to learn my interest in lighting. And then in 1997, I started my own studio in commercial photography. And that's what I've been doing for the last 25 years. And I started small, like most photographers, and then just gradually grew. And about 12 years ago, maybe 13 years ago, we started in the education sector with DVDs back then. And now we run a big education channel, and I still operate as a commercial photographer as well.
What happens with most people is either they do the commercial work or they do the teaching.
Yeah.
You're on that wonderful line. I find that your lighting is so sublime with the nuances and finesses that you can take pasta and make it look sexy. And it's like, so I'm sitting here, we was going through your feed today. It's like, oh my God, I got to elevate my game. This man took a box of Barilla, laid it across the table and lit it and made me want to eat raw rotini. And it's like, what is your philosophy about light?
So if you take any image and you sort of break it down a little bit, you've basically got the narrative, the story of the image, and then you have the emotion that you're trying to dictate in the image. And the emotion comes from mostly from the lighting, partly from the narrative. So if you take, for example, that pasta image, which I think, yeah, it's on my website at karltaylor.com. There it is behind me. I think it's back to front at the moment. But that was an example of just really taking your time with a still life shot. So I wanted to, this was during lockdown, wasn't doing anything else. So I thought, right, I'm going to take some simple objects and try and make them into art. And started experimenting with pasta shells, the shapes and the lines of the spaghetti. And I just spent ages composing an image of interesting angles and interesting shapes. And a lot of it is actually based on visual science. I've studied a lot to do with how humans process visual images, how they respond to them, which angles they respond to the most, why we read images a certain direction, what type of lighting and mood it's going to invoke. And I actually learned a lot from a fellow photographer called Tim Flack, who is a world-renowned expert in photography. He's a fine art animal photographer in studio animal portraiture and on location as well. And then from that, I developed this real keen interest in studying the science behind how we process visual images. So it's basically how our brains calculate pictures. And there is actually a lot of science behind that. And it's a lot to do with evolution. So how we evolved to survive, for example, how our peripheral vision works, how our central focus, which colors we respond to. All of this is based from our evolutionary process with our image processing. And I apply a lot of that to my work. So that's part of the story. So in my compositions, that comes into play. And then in my lighting, the mood or the atmosphere comes into play. So everything that you include in the image, you have to think about, well, what are you going to convey? What's the emotion? What are you trying to say with the shot?
Wow.
That
Wow.
is my line.
That is literally what we say. That's literally what we say.
What is the emotion you're trying to invoke?
That's
So
literally
you
what
said
we
everything
say.
I say, but what happens when I walk into the studio? Every single shoot I have, the first thing I say to myself is, what emotion am I trying to create?
Yes.
The second question I do is, am I going to do it with hard light or soft light?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I said, what is that modifier I'm going to use to create that hard light and soft light? So I know I'm not crazy. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I applaud you for doing things with intention, lighting with intention, and shooting with intention. And I think a lot of people don't do that today. I think whenever you have people who do it, and you say, when somebody tell you, oh, I felt this way when I see an image, it's like, I meant for you to feel that way. I think I love that part of your photography, but continue, sorry.
Please.
Thank you. Well, I think it comes from a background of, shooting back in the 90s and late 90s in the studio. Back then we were working on 5x4 inch technical cameras with 5x4 inch film. So, hello? So you had to take your time because you didn't have a digital preview. You had to really think about it and take your time. So that sort of slower process of working is how I like to work. And the other thing that I do is do a lot of time pre-visualizing the image. So often I make sketches, I kind of draw things out, work out how I want it to do that. Yeah, good practice. And then from doing the sketches, you kind of figure out, well, what mood, what am I going to do? Where am I going to put the light? What is it going to say? And then execute it to meet that, you know, that visual, that visual idea that you had in your mind and that you sketched. And then, of course, there is a post-production stage as well. You know, obviously, I like to get things as far as I can in camera. I don't like cutting corners and saying, oh, I'll do it later in post-production. I use post-production more as a last resort. It's the final 10%. So it's just the last 10% of polishing things, cleaning things up a little bit. And I think that is what helps the images speak for themselves, hopefully, because they have a greater level of realism to them, because they're not so polished in Photoshop. And, you know, when you polish an image that was only half finished, it looks like it's been polished and polished.
Yes.
So if you take the image 90% of the way in camera, you need to in Photoshop. That's always been the best process for me.
It's funny. We produced a book called Light is Light. And for a long time, people kept saying, well, of course your photos look like that because you Photoshopped them to perfection. So I put a whole section in the book that talked about lighting versus retouching. And like you, we take our photos to as far as we can take it. We only use Photoshop to enhance a photo.
Absolutely.
We don't use it to make the photograph. So when they started seeing my before shots in the book, they're like, oh, it looked like maybe just add a little contrast, a little pop. So again, it's like I'm talking to myself. So
good.
I felt this about you watching your videos, but to actually hear it come to your mouth and coming to my ears directly, thank you for sharing all this information. So let me ask you a question. Do you do your own styling on your set when you do your product styling? I was thinking that too.
Yeah. Yes, most of the time I do. When we do fashion shoots, though, I don't get involved in the styling at all because I just don't understand anything about fashion. So we, can you tell? We just finished a big series, a week of fashion shoots that are going to be going on the education platform soon. And Georgie, who works here, she's very into her fashion. So she styled all the clothes and got everything, sourced it all, did all of that. I looked at what she sourced and I said, yeah, I like that. And I like that. And I know that's going to work with that color and et cetera, et cetera. So I don't get involved in styling on the fashion shoots, but on the product shots, yes, I will. Everything to do with the set building, the colors, the props and everything else, I will be in control of all of that. I mean, obviously, if it's a client shoot, then the advertising agency are in control of what they want. And then you have to make that a reality. So you usually have a meeting with the ad agency for a product shoot. And that meeting will say, right, this is the concept, this is the target market, this is what we're trying to say with the image. And then at that stage, you might notice something isn't quite right. And you'll say, well, hold on a minute, that isn't going to work really. I don't see that. And then they might change it a little bit based on your advice. Or they might say, no, we're going with this. So essentially, you're just executing their brief on what they want. And they're taking a little bit.
As we call that artist by proxy.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a situation where you told the art director it's not going to work?
Yeah.
They pushed for it. You shot it, and they said, "Oh, that's not going to work," and you had to change it on the fly.
I think it's happened a couple of times where I've said it's not going to work, or I didn't think it was going to work, and they pushed for it, and we proceeded anyway based on what they wanted, and I delivered what they wanted. And this is why it's always important to have a clear brief, because if in the end it doesn't work for them or their client, you've at least exactly, they can't blame you because you delivered what they asked for. And that's happened before. And you know, you've protected yourself by having that signed contract and clear brief. Most of the clients I've worked with for many years now. And they know me and I know them, and they trust what my input, etc., and vice versa. And they're good art directors. So it doesn't really occur very often. There's occasionally the odd one, and I think, what's that doesn't really make any sense. But not very often. Most of these guys know what they're doing when they're at at that level. And then, of course, on my own product shoots for my own portfolio or for the education platform, I just design it, art direct it myself, and come up with the concept and then just shoot it.
So how did you get into liquid? There's motorcycles, there's pasta, and then there's your liquid shots.
Yeah,
so how did you, what turned you into liquid?
It's just,
we stalk you.
It's just an interesting material or substance, really, isn't it? And it plays with the light so well because it acts like a lens. If you take a droplet of water, an image forms in it like a lens. So what you see on the right hand side of the water droplet is actually coming from the left, and etc. So it does interesting stuff, the way it refracts the light, and it's just beautiful to work with. And also it's quite chaotic because you never know what you're going to get. And because I'm quite controlling and I say, right, I need this to happen here, that's got to be there. With the liquid part, you don't know what you're going to get. So it's a little bit spontaneous. And that makes it quite interesting. It's also quite eye-catching for the audience watching, the viewers or that see the pictures. You're freezing something so sharp in time that they wouldn't be able to see ordinarily. So people are quite captivated by it. But, you know, it's not just liquids. I mean, I enjoy shooting motorcycles because I love motorcycles. I enjoy shooting products that are difficult to shoot, like gloss glass bottles, anything that's
surfaces.
Yeah, anything that's difficult to shoot. We were doing a shoot today and we had the strangest problem where I was trying to create a gradient on this shampoo bottle. It had a chrome lid, and every time we shot it I kept getting a black stripe where the gradient was, and yet I couldn't see it when I looked through camera. The gradient was perfect, and I thought, well, where's this black stripe coming from? And
was you?
No, it wasn't me, and I'd already worked that out. And you always go back to the physics. There's got to be a physics reason for why there was a problem. So I just started breaking it down and trying to go work backwards and look through a few mirrors and angles. And then I realized that I had another light, which was a projection light projecting like the shape of a window shadow onto the shampoo base thing. And that projection frame was also hitting my scrim. So it was casting a shadow on the scrim that I couldn't see because the modeling light was too bright coming through the scrim. But on the photo, every time it recorded. And then when I figured that out, I realized just got to put a flag in front of the projection attachment to stop that bit hitting the scrim, and problem solved. But for me, took me 5-10 minutes to figure out what's going on. But then when I solved it, that actually made my day. So I always get this satisfaction from solving the lighting problems.
We've had that issue here. We were doing this product photography and everything was mirrored, and we couldn't get the studio out of the shots.
Oh my God.
Right.
So we kept trying to figure out what to do. And I was wearing a white t-shirt in the living room, and I passed it, and they said, there it is.
Wait, say that.
Right.
Stay right there. Don't move. Let me get the shot. So we took the shot, and so my t-shirt made the proper reflection back on the product because the logo was embossed. So we needed the logo to pop out. It's those little things. So we're sitting there like you, we're looking around like, how can we fix this? What's going on?
Yeah, where's it coming from?
It's amazing when it's the little things that make us happy.
Yeah, we use a bright yellow cloth, and we put it on a stick, and I get an assistant to move it around the product so I can see, because the yellow will it shows up on the product. So if ever I want to figure out, you know, where there might be a problem, I move this yellow cloth on a stick around to figure it out. The other thing that you
Thank you for that. Oh my God, we're getting a tutorial. People, listen.
Yeah. The other thing that you might find really useful, I don't want to damage my camera, but lasers.
Yes.
We use lasers as well to shine onto products, to figure out where that reflection is going and coming from, to work out angles of reflectance and stuff. So, you know, there's lots of little tips. Obviously, we cover lots on the education platform, but I love the technicals. I love physics as well. I love, you know, the whole process of trying to work out what light does and how it's going to interact with different materials, how it's going to interact with liquids or refract through glass. And obviously, if you shoot a bottle of vodka, and if the bottle's empty, the refraction is completely different to if the bottle's full. So there's all sorts of little weird stuff that happens that just makes it all so interesting.
So let me ask you a question. How many assistants do you have? We were in London and we were working with Rankin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There was like 30 assistants, and I was like, how does he work this way? I wonder, how many assistants do you have?
Well, Rankin runs, I think he probably runs 3 or 4 main assistants, and then he has ringers that he probably brings
So
in.
he had about 12.
It was
About 12 to 15.
It was
I don't think they would be there all the time. He would have those people come in as and when he needs them. What we have here is a total of 9 staff in this studio, and they all do different jobs. So we have head of video production and live shows and all the video editing. We got a graphic designer, we have a copywriter, we have a marketing assistant, we got a marketing director, we got web accounts, and we've got customer support. The graphic design girl, Georgie, and Ashley, the copywriter, both come in and work as assistants when I need assistance. So I'll usually work on product shots with just 1 assistant. And if it's more complicated, then I have 2 assistants. And if it's a big fashion shoot like the other week, then I'll bring someone out of marketing or, you know, whatever, and I'll have 3 assistants. But I never really have more than 3 assistants, because then they can start to get in the way a little bit. And I'm also very hands-on. I don't tend to say, do that, do this, do that. I actually like to do a lot myself. So it's only really in product photography, you need an assistant because you need to look through camera while someone moves a light and reposition so you can see what's happening. And in fashion photography, you need more assistants because you've got people who've got to sort clothes out, hair and makeup and all the rest of it. But no, I very much like to be more hands-on with my own shoots where I can. So 3 assistants is the maximum for me, normally 1.
You have been in the industry, you said 25 years, which is great. So you've seen changes in technology, you've seen changes in style, and you've seen changes in trends. What are some of the best things you've seen happen in technology, and what are some of the worst things you've seen?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I suppose if we go from when everything changed dramatically for me was around 2005, because I was shooting large format film, medium format, Mamiya RZ67, 5x4 and 35.
My favorite camera.
Hey, good cameras, yeah. And then in 2005, I switched to the Hasselblad H1, which was a 22 megapixel medium format digital camera. And I actually went to New York to buy it, and because it was cheaper to buy it in New York.
Did you go to Digital Transitions?
No, I can't remember the name of the company. I can't remember, it's so long ago now. But so that was obviously the biggest transition for me, was moving from film to digital in a professional scenario.
Did you think that digital was going to take over? Did you? Because when it first came out, I said, "Oh, this is not going to last."
Well, no. I mean, it started happening around 2001, but they were like 8 megapixel little 35mm cameras,
right.
And there wasn't anything on the horizon in the professional market at all. And then all of a sudden, you know, the professional ones started appearing, and our customers, our clients were pushing for it. They saw the advantage of being able to see the images instantly, to get the images instantly.
Yep.
Because, you know, when we were shooting 5x4 film, you were shooting Polaroids, the client had to wait 3 days till the E6 film was processed. And then, you know, so the whole idea for the client of being able to get it instantly and see it instantly, it was great. So I transitioned and moved to digital 2005, and then there wasn't really any great advances other than continued development and improvements in Photoshop, but nothing overwhelming from my point of view. I suppose the biggest change came when the amateur cameras or the enthusiast cameras started to compete with the professional cameras, because then all of a sudden you had this influx of more photographers and people that wanted to be photographers. They tried, you know, shooting, and now they had the equipment that was capable of delivering professional level images. So that saw a big change in the photography market shift, because a lot of professionals, or what I would say was a lot of low end to mid end professionals, were ousted out of the market by amateurs that became very good, and they sort of took over that field. The problem with that, though, was the underpricing that was going on. So all of a sudden you had this batch of photographers. They were so desperate to be photographers that they were almost working for free to get the jobs. And I think that caused a lot of problems in the market. The other problem that caused difficulty, I think, in the photography market for a lot of the pros was the stock photography market. So you saw iStock, $10 images, that became a problem. But then other photographers adapted. They started shooting stock and you know, submitting a lot of stock images. So there's been a lot of changes, but fundamentally the physics of how cameras work, and you know, light going through a lens and aperture and recording on a medium, that's been the same for 200 years.
For 200 years, exactly.
Hasn't changed. And the concepts and the physics of light can't change. You know, you can't make light do anything different
than what it does.
You know, you can redirect it, and you can try to shape it into a particular ball or a particular place, and etc. But you can't change its original properties. That's impossible. That's the laws of physics. So what I love most about what I do is lighting, and I haven't really, you know, seen, there's not been any major changes in lighting other than an improvement in lighting modifiers. But some of the best lighting modifiers I use are actually Fresnel lenses. So they're
Don't start now. Don't start this now.
I think I've just lost the connection there.
Yeah.
And those Fresnel lenses work really effectively. And that's actually what a parabolic reflector does. It's a Fresnel lens in reverse, essentially. So the modifiers have become a little bit more precise and allow you to control the light a little bit better. But no, I mean, overall, good photography comes down to good lighting and good storytelling.
Yes.
So you still keep it simple like the masters?
Hopefully, yes. I mean, that pasta shot is just one light. So, you know, you can do a lot with one light. And this is why, you know, what you said earlier about people saying, oh, Karl Taylor is an ambassador for Hasselblad and Broncolor, and this is why he makes great pictures. This is why I also do tutorials on YouTube where I show the same picture done with a Sony and with speed lights.
We did it as well. We took a phase one, a Hasselblad, and a Fuji, and shot the same thing. And we're asking people
which one
in a single light, and saying, so which is which?
Which is which? And they couldn't
figure it out.
Yeah.
So and that's good. I mean, we've got we shot a Harley Davidson a couple of weeks ago. I posted it on Instagram yesterday.
Yes, amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And that shot, we thought we'd do a little joke for YouTube, so we'll publish it soon. But we took the same photo on my iPhone because the lighting was so good on the bike.
Yes.
It wasn't post-production. It was just, that was how we lit it. And I said, well, let's take the photo on the iPhone and the Hasselblad. Obviously, the Hasselblad image is much better, but it was just to show that it's not about the camera per se. It's about the lighting.
Yes.
And you know,
preach.
So it's, you know, lighting for me is everything. It's always about lighting.
Let me ask you a question. Who are some of your influencers or photographers that you looked up to when you were coming up?
Or even now?
Yeah, okay. So when I was a teenager, I really loved reading National Geographic and seeing the photographs in there. And Steve McCurry was one of the main photographers. Amazing. And I had the pleasure of meeting Steve a few years ago and having a chat with him. Jodie Cobb was another really good. Nick Nichols and Franz Lanting, the wildlife photographers from National Geographic. And then as I moved more into interest in studio photography, there was a fashion photographer called Bob Carlos Clark, He was an Irish photographer. He shot some amazing black and white images. I liked the work of Rankin from many years ago. You know, there's been so many, and then there are photographers that I know now that I know personally, whose work I also really admire. Tim Flack is one of them. You know, Tom Oldham, portrait photographer, Rachel Smith, fashion photographer, people I've interviewed as well for my show. Jonathan Knowles, another great product photographer. You know, I take inspiration from anywhere and everywhere. I get a lot of my inspiration from films and movies, though, because I'm always looking at the lighting in films. You know, you watch a film like, do you know the film Seven with Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt?
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
That's got some of the best lighting ever in cinematography, as does Space Odyssey 2001 by Stanley Kubrick. You know, these films.
Mine is Yentl.
Is what?
A movie called Yentl with Barbara Streisand.
I haven't seen that.
Watch that one.
I'm gonna check
we'll
that
have
out.
A conversation about
very
it.
romantic
Okay.
lighting.
It's very painterly.
Yeah, it's very painterly.
Right.
Very beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you guys are the same. You know, when you observe stuff and you see stuff and you take inspiration, and you know, some of the great cinematographers and the lighting guys in cinema, you know, do amazing work. And again, it's all about narrative. It's all about describing emotion is what they're doing. And, you know, it's just sort of trying to emulate that emotion in a still image. Sometimes it's a little bit harder in a still image because people have got a lot of time to study the image. In cinema, they're distracted by the movement and the talking and the storytelling
And the story
and
and the
everything else.
music and right.
Exactly.
We always say we got 1/25 of a second to take the shot, where in movies you have sound, you have movement, you have all this, you know, clothes and dialogue to tell a story. With us, there's none of that. It's just
You have
lighting.
Exactly.
Person.
So let me ask you a question. When you're watching movies with other people, do you find yourself pausing and looking and paying attention to the scene and everybody else getting pissed off with you?
People hate watching movies.
They can't watch
us.
movies with
They
us.
hate watching movies with us.
Well, if I'm watching movies with my kids, it's usually The Incredibles or some Disney
That's what...
some Disney film, and they would probably punch me in the face if I paused the film. And then my wife isn't that much into movies. She's more into, she likes series on Netflix. Like, I mean, a great, did you see The Queen's Gambit?
Oh my God.
The lighting and the, you know.
We watched it, the first time we saw it, we didn't even watch the show. We had to watch it twice because we watched it, first we watched it for the lighting
and then it was
the styling.
And the styling.
Yeah.
And the set building.
And then the set building.
It
And,
was
said,
like,
and then we said, what is the story about? It had to go back.
Yeah. We were looking at everything else.
Yeah.
So
normally I watch films on my own.
You have to.
Because otherwise, I get so into my films, and if someone else is sat there on their phone or doing something, I can't stand it. So, but my wife and I watched The Queen's Gambit. She really enjoyed it for the story. I really enjoyed it for the story and the lighting, and the styling and everything else. Yeah.
And the editing.
Yes.
And the
film
editing.
editing.
Amazing.
So yeah, we're a lot alike. So
yeah,
I'm really
like God. I get it. I understand.
It's so funny. So what are the kids today, the photographers today, lacking with regards to lighting and photography?
Patience.
Ooh.
They're lacking a lot of the time. I think they're trying too hard to be too good too fast, and there's nothing wrong with that in the sense that you can be ambitious and you can think, but a lot of people don't take a step back often and say, what the hell am I doing this shot for? It's kind of like they think of an idea, but and then rush into it without actually trying to work out, you know, what is the image going to say? What is it going to mean? What's the point of putting that in it? And I always talk about this on our education platform about the hero and the supporting cast. So it's just like in a film, you've got the hero in the film, and then you've got the supporting actors. And in many shoots, product shoots, fashion shoots, You've got your set, and then you've got your fashion model, or you've got your set and your product. And a lot of photographers throw things together and throw lots of things in, and too many things, that it then becomes distracting. So the hero doesn't stand out anymore.
The hero
and
gets
then
lost.
It gets lost. But and I always say to them, you've got to look at that juxtaposition between the hero and the supporting cast. And it's not just in the set and the product, it's in the color, the tone, the contrast of the main product compared to a lower contrast of what's going on in the background. And then a combination of what are you putting in the background? What's in the set? Is it overcomplicated? Is there too much? And it's just asking yourself and looking at the image with a clear mind and saying, what is meant to be the hero here and what is meant to be the supporting cast, and which one is winning? Because often I see many pictures where lots of the peripheral stuff in the image seems to be overpowering other stuff.
As I say, all the superfluous stuff has got to
yeah,
be
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly that. And so that's one thing, but I think that does take a little bit of time and a little bit of learning. But the other thing as well is you have to, this is where my photography changed about 10 years ago. So my photography, I would say, dramatically improved 10 years ago when I started learning more about visual science, because I took a step back and I stopped asking myself about, what makes a good photo and where should I put this light and what emotion is that light going to convey? I started asking, well, how do people see images? What is it about the way our brains work that makes us attracted to that type of image or not that one? So for example, if you take the best photograph you've ever taken and you show it to people, all those people will like that image. If you show that image to a polar bear, it wouldn't have a clue whether it's good. Right. It wouldn't register. It wouldn't be good or bad because it's not a penguin that it's going to eat, or not a penguin because they don't have penguins up there, but it's not a seal that they're going to eat. Right. So it's of no relevance. So therefore, you have to ask yourself, so what is the relevance for humans to understand why they like that image? And then if you dig deeper on that, it comes down to neuroscience and how we process images. So for example, we have particular neurons that fire more excitedly with diagonal lines than they do with horizontal lines. And then there's elements to do with lighting from a particular side and particular levels of contrast. Where the highest point of contrast is in an image is where usually the eye is going to go to first.
Exactly.
Unless there's a face. If there's a face, we'll go to the face first. And we go to the face first for evolutionary reasons, because we go for what we call the flight or threat or whatever thing. We're trying to assess whether the person we're looking at is friendly or unfriendly. And that's just an evolutionary trait. So we always go to the face first and facial recognition, and then we'll go to the highest point of contrast. And if you lead them there as well with diagonal lines, that can really help you. And you have to look at the contrast levels in your supporting cast relative to the contrast levels of your heroes in the image as well, and see what works. Then there's elements to do with color and how we process color. And I actually appraise and look at a lot of my images with a black and white layer on top of them first, so that I work out the tonal range to figure out the contrast before you're distracted by the color.
We do the same thing. Okay,
with the same words verbatim.
Yes, we do the exact same thing. Literally, people, when we shoot black and white. They're like,
we shoot a monochrome, right?
White. It's like, listen,
I need to see the transitions, because the color is distracting.
Yeah.
You need to see it. Oh,
and
wow.
makeup artists, because I do a lot of beauty work, so makeup artists used to hate me at first.
Yeah.
And I said when they started working with me, they became better makeup artists because I made them look at their makeup in black and white.
Yeah,
good.
You can see the transitions.
And you can
see, if the brush strokes, like, look, do you see this right here? That means you need to.
So you thank you for, and I don't even know if I got that from you.
I don't know. I mean, I've been doing you know, I do burn and dodge work on my images, and I always do my burn and dodge work with a black and white layer on first, so I can figure out the you know, the tonality across the image. And then often I reduce color in an image to enhance other colors. So
let me ask you a question. Do you watch Handmaid's Tale?
I haven't seen that, no.
Now, one episode tonight, and we can talk about everything you're saying is coming to life.
Yes.
Color, gradation, storytelling, separation
the
of
science of color,
separation of star and supporting cast. Just watch one episode.
One episode.
Okay.
Handmaid's
The
Tale.
Handmaid's Tale. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, a lot of the,
Has
you know,
everything.
a lot of this comes from art as well. You know, also studying the old masters, the painters, and you look at how they painted and how they used contrast and how they used subdued colors in certain places, enhanced colors in other places, and how they lead the eye into an image. And you can learn a lot from those, you know, those old classics, those old masters' paintings as well. So, you know, I do a lot of that. So I guess really my work changed when I stepped back from looking at it from a photography point of view and looking at it more from a human perception point of view. Because at the end of the day, it always seems that most people seem to like the same image. You know, if there's a really good image, most people think it's good.
Right.
So if that's the case, what is it in the brain that makes most people think that is good? There are obviously, you know, like I said, the polar bear won't think it's good.
Right.
So what is different between the human brain and the polar bear brain that makes it good? And that's where I changed my approach to photography significantly in the way I execute or attempt to shoot an image.
We go through that thing, and everything you're telling me and everything you're saying, I try to teach it. And I get a lot of young students who look at me like I'm crazy. And I try to drive these things home to them. And sometimes they say, I just want to take a photograph. And it's like, I get that, but I'm trying to not make you take a photograph. I'm trying to make you create art.
Sometimes they like to take a photograph and then think about.
And then everything we just decided to discuss comes as an afterthought, and we try to make it a forethought.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're teaching these things, how do you drive it home to your students?
I usually strangle them.
Ah,
Okay.
yes,
Perfect.
yes. So Paul gave me the permission to strangle. Ah.
No, I don't, because it's online. So no, to be honest, the reason I enjoy the education part of our business is because I actually like explaining things. People have said to me, you're very good at explaining things that are complicated in quite a simple way, that I'm quite clear in the way I explain things. And I think that's just because I like to break things down in my mind into small pieces and process them that way. And I enjoy teaching students or giving presentations and lectures for Hasselblad or Bron around the world, and you know, imparting the knowledge for me is always very interesting and exciting, because some photographers resent you for it because they think you're giving away secrets. But at the end of the day, humankind doesn't advance unless someone else teaches them something.
I've been saying that. I literally, when I first met him, he was upset. He's older than I am. He was upset at young photographers, and he was like, "Why are they doing this?" I said, "Because they don't have anyone who ever taught them the correct way." And so you can't be mad at young photographers if you're not teaching them better. So when he taught me, he brought me on as his assistant, and I told him, I'm like, they don't know any better. You can't look at these people and be upset with them. They know none of what you know. So imagine you working in the business for 25 years, and the next person who just picked up the camera, and you're expecting them to have 25 years of experience. They don't know any better. So the best way to get over what you're feeling is you have to teach them. And you have exactly. The only way we got better is we had teachers. We had and we learned from them. So the same is we have to pass it on.
And I think it's an important part of life is we have to pass on what we know, and that, you know, the next generation will hopefully improve and better us and what have you, or just do it differently or something. So I enjoy imparting the knowledge. And at the end of the day, you know, the photographers that say to me, oh, I don't like you because you're teaching everyone this. And I say, well, you should learn it as well then, you know, because, you know, it's a level playing field. If you want this knowledge, come and get it. It's there for everyone. It's not, you know, don't pretend that I'm making someone better than you, because the same information is available to you as well. And if they're doing it better, maybe they're just working harder than you are. I do understand and I do appreciate that some photographers have struggled in recent years because it's become more competitive, but that's got nothing to do with me.
Do with us. Yes.
No. That's people's aspirations. And I am always very honest with our students. Our students say, I want to be a professional photographer. And I said, well, there's a 90% chance you're not going to be a professional photographer, because it's a very difficult industry to break into. And, you know, although I've had many success stories through our education program that have gone on to be pros and do big projects, the majority of them actually just want to get more out of their photography and enjoy it more. And, you know, it is a difficult industry. It always has been. It's always been competitive, but it has nothing to do with how well I educate someone, because it's a level playing field. Anyone can come and learn, you know, whatever.
I think being any type of superstar is going to take a different type of passion for it and work ethic for it. Like I tell everybody standing next to me, I'm going to eat you alive if you stand next to me and shoot next to me. I'm telling you, there's no way around it. So good luck. But I'm going to be nice about it. But no, it takes a certain type of drive you have to have.
It does. And it's not just the photography these days. Of course, it's the networking, it's the marketing, it's how you sell yourself, it's how you are.
It's putting ourselves in front of the camera, because remember, our generation, our photo spoke for us. Today's generation, the photographer speaks now. And it's like, we had to learn to let ourselves go and go, okay, I have to get in front of the camera. I have to do this. I have to talk.
Like for years, I've been trying to get him to talk for years, because listen, we are the photographers who support other photographers. So
especially Black photographers.
Yes. So we bought your series, we bought Joe Grimes series, we bought Lindsay, we bought all these different photographers to support and also to learn. And he teaches. So when he's teaching, I'm like, you have just as much of a viable product as they do. You have to put yourself out there. And he's like, I don't want to. And I'm like, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So,
he's camera shy. He's camera shy.
Exactly. And another funny thing, let me ask you a question. When it comes to your students and your teaching, do you like lack of a better word, do you like working with the difficult students more?
Well, to be honest, I don't really see the students because it's online.
Oh, virtual, right? Okay.
You know, we run live workshops and they have live Q&A, but it's only Q&A by audio. I don't actually physically see them. We did do an annual workshop here in my studio with Tim Flack, and we invite 15 or 16 photographers come from all over the world for a 4-day special event. But with COVID, we haven't run it for the last
Same here.
events.
2 years for us as well.
So, you know, so that's really the only time I see students. When I do see students, I've run workshops for Hasselblad and Broncolor in China and the Far East and various countries. And then I might have 20 or 30 people in a room, you know, learning from me. But everyone's different. Everyone processes information at a different rate. And I think that's the good thing with us teaching in a video format, live and recorded, is you can just re-watch it if you're not sure on anything. And we offer direct customer support. So what our students do get is, if they have any questions on anything we teach, they can ask us and then we respond directly. So
let me tell you something funny. Like I said, I produced the ebook, and I try to tell my students, if you decide to buy my ebook, you have direct access to me. Our relationship doesn't stop at the shopping cart. There's so many photographers out here who pushing product, and after they push that product, can't get in contact with them. So thank you again. I have a checklist here, and I'm going down a checklist, and I'm meeting all the checklists because of you. So thank you.
So I want to ask a technical question, because we are also Hasselblad users and medium format users. What is your favorite body and why?
Well, it is the H6 now. I've had the H6 100 for a couple of years now, and I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it. The only disadvantage of it is that with the photo sites being a little bit smaller because they've crammed 100 megapixels on the chip. When it was 50 megapixels, you didn't get diffraction starting until about f22. Now you'll get diffraction starting at f16 to f22, so you just have to be a little bit more careful on that. But the overall image quality and the tonality that it gives, for me, that is the choice camera for me. I just hope that Hasselblad reinvest, because I think what they could do now with the 100 megapixel camera is actually improve the lenses a little bit to match the 100 megapixel. I think the lenses were perfect for the 50 megapixel, but I think they could be improved a small amount for the 100. I would say though, I actually wished, because the chips, as you know, are made by Sony.
Sony, yeah.
And I said to Sony and to Hasselblad, I've said, look, you guys, the optimum chip is an 80 megapixel, because then the photo site size is bigger and light gathering, diffraction will be less of a problem, and the resolution would be ample. So, you know, happy with that. I've also, I mean, I've shot Canon for years. I've shot Nikon years ago. And more recently, I've been shooting with the Sony in 35mm, because we use the Sonys for all our video work. So we have A7S3s and 2s and FS7s. So sometimes I've picked up the Sony to do a sample shot on 35mm and been very impressed with it. I'm not a huge fan of mirrorless yet, still getting used to looking at the thing, but I'm, you know, because I shoot tethered, then you can use the Sony tethered as well. So it's good. And the Sony 90mm macro lens is a really good lens, really nice quality lens. But I'm not actually that fussed about equipment. Sounds weird. As long as it does the job.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
We say the same thing. We say the same exact thing.
Not at all. Because I don't even look at equipment until I have to make a purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people come to me like, you're giving me all these numbers, and they just sound like,
how you like the GS90?
I'm the polar bear.
Like,
so they'll come to me and ask me, what's the best light I should get? And it's like, you know, because they got this and they have this. I'm like, I don't know. I don't use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Until I have to go make a purchase, and I go, okay. Now I have to start studying to see what's going on, because I've introduced him to medium format. He kept trying to get this medium format look in his photography.
I started off as a retoucher, and I was retouching. I'm like, how do we get this look? And we had a one day, my very first time on a shoot with him, it was a campaign, and we were shooting a beauty campaign. And he said, hold my camera, and I'm holding on to I'm like, what is this? What is
and
this
it was
thing?
a Hasselblad.
Yeah, like, what is this thing? So, what is this? And he took the shot, and I looked at the model and all the lighting. I kept looking around, and I looked at the photo. And I kept looking at the lighting and looked at the photo. And I was like, that's what I've been looking for. You didn't even retouch it. I kept telling him I thought it was a professional, but I thought it was a thing where you take the shot and then you come home and you press this button that says pro. I said, where do you get your professional button from?
Yeah, it's those transitional tones, the silkiness of the tones that you get.
You call it silkiness, I call it creaminess. I call it creaminess.
There you go. There you go. But I get more excited about lighting tools, to be honest. You know,
always.
You know, if Broncolor send me something to test or whatever, or when I'm at Broncolor's factory in Switzerland and playing around with the latest things, that I get more excited about that, because I have more fun working with lighting, you know. So
same here. We are literally, we had these conversations with a couple of lighting companies, and they were like, could you just promote this one lighting company? It's like, it's hard because we have so many
different lighting systems here. Yeah. We have so many different kind of modified systems here. And it's like different things, different photos, different lights do different things. Like, you like Fresnel.
We love Fresnel.
If they had to remove all the artificial light in the world and I only had one, it will always be Fresnel.
Yeah.
Always.
You can manipulate in so many different ways, and
exactly.
And I love it. I don't know. It's beautiful.
It really is. Oh my God.
So yeah. Anyway,
this has been amazing.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Just know you have two fans in LA And we always watching you. We support your videos. We watch you. We're subscribed to your YouTube channel and everything.
So we're there for you.
We are lighters like you are. We love light. We fall in love with it when we watch television shows, magazines, everything. We're fashion and beauty photographers. But when you see someone of note and who appreciate light like we appreciate light, we always have to shine a light on you.
You have to shine a light. Oh, yeah, okay, you did. You shine a light.
So, absolutely, it's you're always a friend in our mind and mentors in our mind, and we are absolutely.
And for
happy.
those of you who know me, now you know where I get a lot of my information from.
Absolutely,
So here's one of my sources.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to do this. I always love talking about photography, so very, very happy to do so. And it's good to hear you guys are doing good stuff as well. So I've followed both of you on Instagram now.
Thank
So
you.
I'll be keeping an eye on you.
Well, good. We'll make sure we keep in touch. We literally have been interviewing people who we consider legends. We just interviewed Albert Watson, and then he was like, Karl Taylor. I said we got Karl Taylor.
Yeah.
We got Karl Taylor. I was like, okay, cool. So
And he said, "Karl, who's Karl Taylor?"
You're lying. Listen, on my iPad, I still have. We downloaded something you had years ago. We downloaded the tutorials, and we have them. So whenever we lost or something, it's like, okay, he's somewhere in here. He's going to talk about it somewhere in here. So we appreciate you. We have to give you your flowers. We enjoy everything that you do. It is you're an amazing teacher and you're
An amazing artist.
Amazing artist. I love what you do. We love what you do, and we appreciate you.
And I hope that our fans appreciate what you do now.
Absolutely.
So before we go, we'd like to do a thumbnail photo for our IG and for our YouTube. So we're going to hold a pose for like 5 seconds so we have a nice clear shot. So get your model face on. Up there it is. So on the count of 3, we're going to hold it for 5 seconds. You ready? 1,
You ready for the crazy face?
2, 3.
I didn't know if I could hold it for 5 seconds. That's the longest I've ever sat still.
I'm only serious in my photography. Everything else, I'm a clown.
Yeah, everything else is just jokes. Anyway, it was an absolute
It was
pleasure.
a pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Time with us. I think we now have a new friend.
We absolutely do.
You are amazing, and
All right, enough
amazing
already.
Please keep doing amazing work.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I do like, Dallas.
What's
I
up?
like your haircut.
Oh,
I like yours.
I see that Dave's holding on to his a little bit longer.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you're 30, and this is what happens when you're 50.
Yeah.
So we totally understand. You have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening for you,
Yeah.
and thanks again so much, sir.
And remember, Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale and Yentl.
In Yentl. You'll like it. Handmaid's Tale first.
Do me a favor and message it to me on Instagram or something, and
I'll
so
do
I've got
that
a
right
note
now.
of it.
You got
Yeah.
it. You
Have
got
a
it.
wonderful, wonderful night, sir.
Have a good day. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.